The fancy cloth napkin was unfolded in front of me, and written in rushed blue ink were the words that made my whole world tilt sideways. Your husband swapped your meds. Don't take them. He was bragging to his friend at the bar last week. I'm the bartender's nephew. Please be careful. I read it 3 times. 4 times. The words didn't change. I looked at myself in that gold-rimmed mirror at Josephine's, the nicest restaurant in our part of Atlanta. My brown skin looked ashy under those lights, and my silver hair that I'd spent an hour curling that afternoon was starting to come loose. I was 72 years old, been married to Vernon Williams for 48 years, and according to this note from a waiter I'd never met before tonight, my husband was trying to kill me. My purse was sitting on the marble counter. Inside was the little pill organizer Vernon had been so helpful about lately. "Let me handle your medications, Dot," he'd said just 2 weeks ago. "You've been so dizzy and confused. Don't want you taking the wrong pills." I'd thought it was sweet. Thought maybe after all these years, my husband was finally stepping up to take care of me the way I'd taken care of him and everyone else my whole life. I opened my purse with trembling fingers and pulled out that pill organizer. The pills for tonight looked different. Not much, but enough. The blood pressure pill was a slightly different shade of white, and there was an extra capsule I didn't recognize at all. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it echoing in that fancy bathroom. Somewhere outside, a piano was playing. People were laughing. And my husband was sitting at our anniversary table, probably checking his watch, wondering when his wife was going to come back and take her medicine like a good girl. I had to splash cold water on my face 3 times before I could even think straight. Before we continue, shout out to Keisha from Houston. We appreciate the love you show by commenting and sharing. Let me tell you how I got to this moment, because 3 weeks ago, I thought my life was finally settling into something peaceful. My name is Dolores Williams, but everyone calls me Dot. I was born right here in Georgia in 1953, grew up in a time when black folks had to work twice as hard for half as much, and I never forgot that lesson. I raised 2 boys mostly by myself while Vernon worked his way up from warehouse supervisor to regional manager. I cleaned houses, braided hair in my kitchen, sold Avon, did whatever it took to make sure my sons had what they needed. Kendrick, my oldest at 45, became a financial advisor. I was so proud. My baby boy Anthony died in a car accident 15 years ago. That pain never goes away, but you learn to carry it. Kendrick married Yvette 12 years back, and they gave me my precious grandson Zion. That boy is 8 years old now and the light of my whole life. Every Sunday after church at Greater Faith Baptist, Zion would run to me with his little arms spread wide, and I'd scoop him up even though my back complained about it. "Grandma Dot!" he'd yell, and my heart would feel full. Vernon retired 2 years ago. I thought maybe we'd finally have time to travel like we always talked about. Maybe take a cruise, visit our cousin Geneva in Florida. Just enjoy the life we'd worked so hard to build. But something changed in Vernon after he retired. He got distant, started spending more time in his study with the door closed, taking phone calls he wouldn't explain. When I'd ask him what was wrong, he'd snap at me. "Nothing's wrong, Dolores. Why you always in my business?" After 48 years of marriage, I knew when something was off. But I'm from a generation where you don't just give up on your vows. You work through it. You pray about it. You trust that the man you married is still in there somewhere. Then, 3 weeks ago, things got strange in a different way. I was coming back from my book club at the church when I felt dizzy in the parking lot. Sister Patricia had to grab my arm to keep me from falling. "Dot, you okay?" she asked, her dark eyes full of concern. "Girl, you look like you about to pass out." "I'm fine," I told her, but I wasn't. The parking lot was spinning, and my legs felt like they were made of water. Vernon came to pick me up. He was so concerned, so attentive, helped me into the car, buckled my seatbelt, kept asking if I needed to go to the hospital. No, I said, probably just stood up too fast. But it kept happening. I'd get dizzy in the kitchen, dizzy getting dressed. One time, I actually did fall, right there in the hallway, and Vernon found me on the floor. He insisted on taking me to Dr. Morrison. Dr. Morrison has been our family doctor for 20 years. He's a good man, goes to the church 2 blocks over from ours. He ran all kinds of tests, checked my blood pressure, did blood work. "Everything looks normal for a woman your age, Dot," he told me. "Might be your medications need adjusting. Let's tweak your blood pressure medicine, see if that helps." He gave me new prescriptions. Vernon picked them up from the pharmacy that same day. "I got you, baby," he said, kissing my forehead. "I'll make sure you take these at the right times. Can't have my wife falling and hurting herself." It seemed loving. It seemed like the man I married was coming back to me. But the dizziness got worse. I started having headaches too. And sometimes my heart would race for no reason at all. I mentioned it to Vernon, and he just said, "It's your age, Dot. We're getting old. Bodies break down." I started noticing other things too. Little things that didn't make sense until tonight. Like how Vernon always poured my water at dinner now. Always handed me my pills directly instead of letting me get them myself. How he'd watch me take them, making sure I swallowed. "Just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself," he'd say. Or how he'd gotten real interested in our finances lately. Asking me to sign papers, saying it was just to simplify things. I signed them because he was my husband. You trust your husband. Last week I overheard him on the phone in his study. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the door was cracked, and I was walking by to get laundry. "It won't be much longer," he was saying. His voice was cold, businesslike. "Once she's gone, everything transfers to me. Then we can move forward with our plans." My blood went cold, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he was talking about some investment. Maybe I'd misheard. When you love someone for 48 years, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Then came our anniversary, 48 years of marriage. Vernon said he wanted to do something special, take me to Josephine's. It's this upscale restaurant in Buckhead, the kind of place we never went to because Vernon always said it was too expensive. "We're celebrating," he insisted. "We deserve it." I wore my burgundy dress, the one I save for special occasions. Put on the pearls Vernon gave me for our 25th anniversary. Did my makeup nice. Curled my hair. Looked at myself in the mirror and thought, maybe we're going to be okay. Maybe this is Vernon's way of saying he wants to fix things between us. He was charming at dinner. Pulled out my chair, complimented how beautiful I looked. Ordered champagne even though we're not big drinkers. We talked about the old days, laughed about stories from when the boys were little. For a moment, it felt like being young again. "I need to use the restroom," Vernon said after our main course. "Be right back, baby." That's when the young waiter appeared. He couldn't have been more than 25, with kind eyes and neat locks pulled back. He started clearing some plates, moving quickly, efficiently. Then he leaned down like he was reaching for something and pressed that folded napkin into my hand. "Ma'am," he whispered, so quiet I almost didn't hear him. "Please read this in private. I'm sorry." He was gone before I could respond, disappeared into the kitchen like a ghost. My first instinct was to open it right there at the table, but something in his eyes, that look of pure panic, made me wait. I excused myself, said I needed to powder my nose, and that's how I ended up locked in this bathroom, reading words that confirmed my worst fear. Vernon had been poisoning me. All those dizzy spells, the headaches, the racing heart. That wasn't age. That wasn't my medication needing adjustment. That was my husband slowly killing me, and I'd been thanking him for taking such good care of me. I looked at my reflection again. 48 years. We'd built a whole life together. I'd stood by him through job losses and family drama, nursed him through pneumonia, buried our youngest son with him. And this is how it ends? With him trying to poison me at our anniversary dinner? The anger hit me then, hot and fierce. Not just anger, rage. This man thought I was some helpless old woman he could just dispose of. Thought he could smile in my face while he murdered me slow. But Dolores Williams didn't survive 72 years by being weak. I'd raised 2 boys, worked 3 jobs at once, faced down racism and sexism and every other kind of hardship. I wasn't about to let Vernon Williams take me out without a fight. I flushed the toilet to make it sound like I'd actually used the bathroom, washed my hands, reapplied my lipstick with steady fingers, took 3 deep breaths, and put on the same face I'd worn 1,000 times before, the face of a devoted wife. When I walked back to that table, Vernon was already sitting there, smiling. He'd ordered dessert, chocolate mousse, my favorite. "There you are," he said warmly. "Thought you got lost." "Just freshening up," I said, sliding into my seat. My purse with those deadly pills was in my lap, and I clutched it tight. "You know how us old ladies are." He laughed, poured me more water from the pitcher on the table. "Here, baby. Stay hydrated." Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out my pill organizer, set it on the table between us. "Almost forgot. Time for your evening medications." My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm, peaceful, obedient. "You're so good to me, Vernon," I said softly. "Always thinking of my health." He reached across and squeezed my hand. His touch made my skin crawl, but I didn't pull away. That's what husbands do, Dot. We take care of our wives. The piano music swelled. Other couples were laughing, celebrating, living their lives. And I was sitting across from a man who wanted me dead. I picked up the pill organizer with fingers that didn't shake, opened it, looked at those pills that weren't my pills at all. Vernon was watching me, waiting. I had to make a choice right then and there. Take the pills and see what happened. Refuse and let him know I was on to him, or play along and figure out my next move. The waiter, God bless that young man, walked by our table, caught my eye for just a second, gave the tiniest nod toward the kitchen exit. I closed the pill organizer and set it back down. "Actually, Vernon," I said, letting my voice quaver just a little, "I'm feeling dizzy again. Maybe I should take these when we get home, with some food in my stomach." Something flickered across his face. Irritation. Maybe even anger. But then he smiled that same warm smile. "Of course, baby. Whatever you need. Let's get you home." He paid the check, helped me with my coat, guided me toward the door with his hand on the small of my back. That hand that had held our babies. That hand that used to make me feel safe. Now all I felt was that hand pushing me toward my grave. As we passed the bar area, I saw him, the bartender's nephew, the young waiter who'd saved my life. He was talking to an older man behind the bar, both of them watching us leave. The older man nodded at me, just slightly, and I knew. These strangers had done more to protect me than my own husband. We walked to Vernon's Mercedes in the parking garage. He opened my door, made sure I was settled, started the engine. Jazz music came through the speakers, the same station we always listened to. "That was a nice evening," Vernon said as he pulled out of the garage. "Just like old times." "Just like old times," I echoed. But as we drove through Atlanta's nighttime streets, past lit-up buildings and late-night traffic, all I could think about was that note burning in my purse. And the pills. And the fact that my husband was taking me home to finish what he'd started. I didn't know what I was going to do when we got to our house on Peachtree Hills. Didn't know how I was going to survive the night. Didn't know who I could trust or where I could go. All I knew was that Vernon Williams had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. And I was about to show him just how wrong he was. The ride home felt like it took forever and no time at all. Every red light, every turn, I was thinking about what came next. Vernon kept glancing at me, probably wondering why I hadn't taken those pills yet. I kept my breathing slow and steady, pretending to be tired. Just an old woman worn out from a fancy dinner. When we pulled into our driveway on Peachtree Hills, the house looked different somehow. Like I was seeing it for the first time. We'd lived here for 32 years. Raised our boys here, buried Anthony, and mourned him here. This house held every memory of our marriage, and now it felt like a trap. Vernon helped me out of the car. His hand on my elbow felt like a snake wrapping around my arm. "Let's get you inside and rested, baby," he said. "You can take your medication and get some sleep." I nodded, playing my part. I am tired. Inside, everything was exactly how we'd left it. The living room with my collection of family photos on the mantel, Anthony's high school graduation picture, Kendrick's wedding photo, little Zion at his last birthday party, chocolate cake all over his face. My whole life was on that mantel, and Vernon was trying to erase me from it. "You want some tea?" Vernon asked, heading toward the kitchen. "No, thank you," I said quickly. Too quickly. I softened my voice. "I think I'll just head up to bed." "Don't forget your medication," he called after me. My blood went cold, but I kept walking toward the stairs. "I'll take them in a minute. Let me just change into my nightgown first." I went up those stairs slower than usual, holding the railing, making sure Vernon heard every creaky step, making him think I was just a tired old woman getting ready for bed. But my mind was racing like an engine at full speed. In our bedroom, I closed the door and locked it. Vernon never came up this early anyway. He usually stayed downstairs watching the news until after 11. But I wasn't taking chances. I sat on the edge of our bed and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking again. Who could I call? Who would believe me? Not Kendrick. My son loved his father. They had lunch together every Thursday, talked about sports and investments and man things. If I called Kendrick and said his daddy was trying to poison me, he'd probably think I was having some kind of mental breakdown. Probably call Dr. Morrison and have me checked into somewhere. I thought about Sister Patricia from church, but she'd want to come over and pray about it, and that would alert Vernon something was wrong. Then I remembered someone I hadn't thought about in months. Claudette Jenkins. We'd been best friends since grade school, but she'd moved to Florida 5 years ago to be near her daughter. Claudette was the only person who knew all my secrets, who'd seen me through every hard time. If anyone would believe me, it would be her. I dialed her number with trembling fingers. "Dot?" Claudette's voice came through after 3 rings. "Girl, it's almost 10 o'clock. You okay?" Just hearing her voice made me want to cry, but I held it together. "Claudette, I need help," I whispered. "Vernon is trying to kill me." There was a pause. Then, "What you mean, trying to kill you?" I told her everything. The dizziness, the pills, the waiter's note, all of it. I was talking so fast I was tripping over my words, but I got it all out. Claudette didn't tell me I was crazy. Didn't suggest I was confused or imagining things. That's how I knew she was real family, even if we didn't share blood. "Listen to me, Dot," she said, and her voice was sharp and clear. "You do not take those pills, you hear me? Not one." I wasn't planning to. "You need to get out of that house tonight, right now." "I can't," I said. "If I leave, he'll know I'm on to him. And besides, I need proof. Nobody's going to believe a 72-year-old woman claiming her husband is poisoning her without proof." Claudette was quiet for a moment, thinking. "My nephew Raymond still lives in Atlanta. He's a private investigator now. Let me call him, see if he can help you." "It's late. Dot, this man is trying to murder you. It ain't too late for nothing." She paused. "But you're right about needing proof. Those pills, can you keep them somewhere safe? Not take them, but save them?" I looked at my purse on the dresser. "Yes, do that. And Dot, you gotta be smart about this. Real smart. Vernon thinks you're just some helpless old lady he can get rid of. You show him different, but you do it careful. Don't let him know you know until you're ready." We talked for 10 more minutes, making a plan. By the time I hung up, I felt stronger, less alone. Claudette was calling Raymond tonight, and he was going to help me figure this out. But first, I had to survive until morning. I heard Vernon's footsteps on the stairs. My heart jumped into my throat. I quickly opened my nightstand drawer and swept the pill organizer inside, under some old church bulletins. Then I grabbed my nightgown and pretended to be getting changed. Vernon knocked on the door. "Dot, you okay in there?" "Yes, just changing," I called out. "Give me a minute." "Did you take your medication?" I looked at that closed drawer, at those pills that were supposed to kill me. "About to right now." "Good. I'm coming to bed soon. Long day." His footsteps moved down the hall toward his study. I heard the door close. I got into my nightgown with shaking hands. Washed my face, brushed my teeth, did all the normal things I did every night. But nothing was normal. Nothing would ever be normal again. I couldn't sleep in the same bed as Vernon. I just couldn't. But if I didn't, he'd know something was wrong. So I got into bed, on my side like always, and I waited. Vernon came in about 30 minutes later. I kept my eyes closed, my breathing deep and steady, pretending to be asleep. I felt the mattress shift as he got in, felt him lying there, probably wondering why his wife wasn't dead yet. I don't know how long I laid there in the dark, listening to Vernon breathe. Hours, maybe. Every sound made me jump, the house settling, the heat clicking on, a car passing outside. I kept thinking, what if he tries to smother me with a pillow? What if he doesn't want to wait for the pills to work? But Vernon just slept, or pretended to sleep. It was hard to tell. Around 3 a.m, I heard his breathing change. Deeper. More even. He was really asleep. I waited another 20 minutes to be sure. Then I slowly, carefully slid out of bed. The floor was cold under my feet. I grabbed my phone and tiptoed to the bathroom, closing the door as quiet as I could. I had a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Raymond Jenkins, Claudette's nephew. I'm here to help. Can you talk?" I called him immediately, my voice barely a whisper. "This is Dot." "Mrs. Williams, Aunt Claudette filled me in." Raymond's voice was young but professional. "First thing, are you safe right now?" "I think so. Vernon's asleep." "Good. I need you to do something for me." "Those pills, can you get them to me tomorrow without Vernon knowing?" "I don't know. He watches me all the time now." "Do you go anywhere regularly? Church? Store? Anywhere he doesn't go with you?" I thought about it. "Bible study. Tomorrow afternoon at Greater Faith Baptist. Vernon never comes to that. Says it's women's business." "Perfect. I'll meet you there. Bring the pills. I know a lab that can test them. Tell us exactly what we're dealing with." "What if it's not poison?" I asked, suddenly doubting everything. "What if I'm wrong and I'm ruining my marriage over nothing?" "Mrs. Williams," Raymond said gently, "has your gut ever been wrong about something important?" I thought about all the times in my life when I'd known something wasn't right. When I'd known Anthony's girlfriend was bad news before he figured it out. When I'd known Kendrick's first business partner was stealing from him. When I'd known my mama was sick before the doctors found the cancer. Women my age, we know things. We feel them in our bones. "No," I said, "my gut is never wrong." "Then trust it now." We talked for a few more minutes, making plans. Then I crept back to bed, my heart pounding so hard I thought Vernon might hear it. But he just kept sleeping, this man who'd promised to love and cherish me until death do us part. He'd just decided to speed up that death part. The next morning, Vernon was cheerful, made me breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and I had to watch him like a hawk to make sure he didn't put anything in my food. He poured coffee from the same pot he drank from, so that seemed safe. But I barely touched the eggs. Said my stomach was upset. "You need to eat, Dot," he said, frowning. "Keep your strength up." "I'll eat later, maybe some soup for lunch." He left for his weekly golf game around 9. Every Monday morning, same routine. As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I called Kendrick. "Hey, Mama," my son answered on the second ring. "What's up?" "I need to see Zion," I said. "Can I pick him up from school today? Take him for ice cream?" Sure. Yvette's working late anyway. And I've got a client meeting. That would actually help us out. Good. I'll get him at 3. After I hung up, I realized I was crying. Because if Vernon succeeded, I'd never see my grandson again. Never hear him call me Grandma Dot. Never feel his little arms around my neck. And that thought made me angry all over again. Vernon wasn't just trying to take my life. He was trying to take away every moment I hadn't had yet. Every birthday, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday afternoon with Zion. He was stealing my future. Well, I wasn't going to let him. At 2 o'clock, I drove to Greater Faith Baptist for Bible study. Sister Patricia greeted me at the door with a hug. "Dot, how was your anniversary dinner?" "Lovely," I lied, smiling. "Just lovely." The church parking lot was half full. I'd told Raymond to meet me in my car at 2:30 before Bible study started. I sat in my Buick, watching the door, my purse with those deadly pills in my lap. A silver Honda pulled up next to me. A young man got out, late 20s, professional-looking, with neat facial hair and intelligent eyes. He tapped on my window. I rolled it down. "Mrs. Williams, I'm Raymond Jenkins." I looked at him. Claudette's nephew. He had her eyes, that same sharp awareness. "Get in," I said. Raymond slid into the passenger seat and I handed him the pill organizer. He opened it, examined the pills carefully, took photos with his phone. "I'll have results by tomorrow morning," he said. "But Mrs. Williams, I need to ask you something. Have you noticed your husband doing anything else unusual? Changes in behavior, new people in his life, financial changes?" "He's been real interested in our accounts lately," I said. "Had me sign some papers last week. Said it was to simplify things." Raymond's face got serious. "Did you read what you signed?" "Not really. Vernon handles all that." "We need to get copies of those documents. And Mrs. Williams, I need you to think, does Vernon have a girlfriend?" The question hit me like a slap. A girlfriend? Most men who try to kill their wives do it for one of 2 reasons: money or another woman. Sometimes both. I sat there in my car in the church parking lot, and pieces started clicking into place. The late-night phone calls. It won't be much longer. The way he'd been so eager to get those papers signed. The expensive anniversary dinner, like he was celebrating something. "Oh my God," I whispered. "That's why he's doing this. He's got someone else, doesn't he?" Raymond's face was kind but firm. "Let's find out. In the meantime, you need to be careful. No food or drink he gives you unless you see it prepared from scratch. No pills. And Mrs. Williams, start documenting everything. Write down every strange thing he does, every conversation, everything." "I will. One more thing. Do you have somewhere safe you can go if you need to leave quickly?" "My friend Claudette in Florida. Too far. Somewhere here in Atlanta. Somewhere he wouldn't think to look." I thought about it. Then it hit me. Sister Patricia. She's got a guest room, and Vernon barely knows her. He'd never think I'd go there. Talk to her. Make sure she knows you might need her help. Raymond handed me a card. "My number's on there. You call me day or night if anything feels wrong, understand?" I took the card with shaking hands. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We've got work to do." Raymond left, and I sat there for a moment, trying to collect myself before Bible study. My phone buzzed. A text from Vernon. "How's your day, baby? Feeling better?" I stared at that text, at the word baby. He'd called me baby for 48 years. Now it felt like poison. I texted back. "Feeling fine. At church. Bible study." His response came quick. "Good. Don't forget your evening medication. Important for your health." I wanted to throw my phone across the parking lot. Instead, I wrote back, "I won't forget." But I would forget. I'd forget every single pill for the rest of my life if I had to. Bible study was hard to focus on. Sister Patricia was leading us through Psalms, talking about deliverance from enemies. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, sitting in God's house, plotting how to survive my own husband's murder attempt. After Bible study, I drove to Zion's school. My grandson came running out with his superhero backpack, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Grandma Dot!" I hugged him so tight. "Hey, baby boy, want some ice cream?" "Yes!" We went to Scoops and Dreams, this black-owned ice cream shop on Auburn Avenue. Zion got cookies and cream. I got butter pecan, though I couldn't taste it. Just watched my grandson eat his ice cream, getting it all over his face, telling me about his day at school. "Grandma, why you crying?" Zion asked suddenly. I wiped my eyes quick. "Happy tears, baby. Just so happy to spend time with you." "I'm happy too." He grinned, showing his missing front tooth. "Can we do this every week?" "We're sure going to try," I said, hoping it was true, hoping I'd be alive next week to take him for ice cream. My phone rang. Vernon. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. "Grandma, your phone's ringing," Zion said. "I know, baby. It's okay." I checked the voicemail when Zion went to the bathroom. Vernon's voice was tight, controlled. "Dolores, where are you?" "You should be home by now. Call me back." I called him back, keeping my voice light. "Hey, Vernon, I'm with Zion. Got him some ice cream." "You didn't tell me you were getting Zion." "Kendrick asked me to. Last-minute thing." Silence. Then, "When are you coming home?" "Soon. Another hour, maybe." "Don't forget your medication tonight, Dolores. You missed it last night. Can't skip doses." There it was. The real reason he was calling, to make sure I took those pills. "I won't forget," I said sweetly. "See you soon, honey." I hung up and my hands were shaking again. Vernon was getting impatient, getting sloppy. That was good. When people got sloppy, they made mistakes. I took Zion home at 5, hugged him goodbye, promised to see him Sunday after church. Yvette answered the door, smiled, thanked me. She had no idea her father-in-law was a murderer, no idea that the woman standing on her doorstep might not live to see next week. I drove home slowly, trying to prepare myself. Vernon's Mercedes was in the driveway. I could see him through the living room window, pacing, waiting. I grabbed my purse, touched the card Raymond had given me in my pocket, and walked inside. Vernon was on me immediately. "There you are. I was worried." "I'm fine. Just spent time with my grandson." "Your phone kept going to voicemail." "Service was bad in the ice cream shop." I set my purse down on the hall table. "I'm going to start dinner." "Already ordered pizza. Should be here any minute." Vernon stepped closer. "Dot, we need to talk about your medication. You can't keep skipping doses. It's dangerous." "I know. I'll take them tonight." "I promise." He studied my face, looking for something. Lies, maybe. Suspicion. But I kept my expression calm and tired. Just an old woman who'd had a long day. The doorbell rang. Pizza delivery. We ate at the kitchen table, and I made sure to only eat pizza I saw Vernon take from the same box as his own. We watched some TV. Vernon kept checking his watch, probably counting down until pill time. At 9 o'clock, he pulled out that pill organizer again. Set it on the coffee table between us. "Time for your medication, baby." I looked at those pills, looked at my husband's face, and I realized something. He wanted to watch me take them, wanted to see me swallow them down. Maybe he was excited to finally finish what he'd started. I reached for the organizer. Vernon leaned forward, watching. My phone rang. Kendrick's name on the screen. "Hold on, that's Kendrick," I said, grateful for the interruption. "Let it go to voicemail. Take your pills first." "It might be about Zion." "Dolores." Vernon's voice was hard now, impatient. "Take your medication, now." I answered the phone instead. "Kendrick?" "Mama, did Dad seem weird to you lately?" My heart stopped. "What?" "I was going through some paperwork and I found something strange. Can we talk tomorrow? Come by my office?" Vernon was staring at me, his jaw clenched. "Yes," I said. Tomorrow. What time? 10 o'clock. And Mama? Don't tell Dad. I want to show you something first. The call ended. I looked at Vernon, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. He knew. Somehow he knew I was slipping away from his control. What did Kendrick want? Vernon asked, his voice too casual. Just checking on Zion. You know how he is. Right. Vernon picked up the pill organizer and held it out to me. His hand wasn't steady. Your medication. You've put it off long enough. I took the organizer from him, opened it, stared at those poison pills that were supposed to end my life. Vernon was watching me so close I could feel his eyes burning into my skin. I had to make a decision right then. Take the pills and see what happened, refuse and let him know for sure I was on to him. Or... The house phone rang, shrill and sudden. We both jumped. Vernon cursed under his breath, got up to answer it. And in that split second while his back was turned, I dumped those pills into my bra and snapped the organizer shut. Vernon was arguing with someone on the phone. A telemarketer, probably. I stood up quickly. I'm tired, Vernon. I took my pills. I'm going to bed. Before he could respond, before he could check that organizer, I headed upstairs. Behind me, I heard Vernon slam down the phone, heard his footsteps following me. Dolores, wait! But I was already in the bedroom, door closed, those pills pressed against my heart like evidence, like proof, like the ammunition I needed to take down the man who'd promised to love me until death. Only death wasn't getting me tonight, not if I had anything to say about it. I didn't sleep at all that night. I laid in bed with those pills hidden in my nightstand drawer, listening to Vernon breathe in the dark. Every time he shifted, my whole body tensed up. Around 4 a.m, I heard him get up and go downstairs. I held my breath, wondering if he was coming back with something worse than pills. But he just used the bathroom and came back to bed. When morning finally came, I felt like I'd been awake for a week straight. Vernon was already dressed when I got up at 7. Usually he slept until 8 on Tuesdays, but there he was, fully dressed, drinking coffee at the kitchen table. Morning, he said, not looking at me. How'd you sleep? Fine. I poured myself coffee, my hand steadier than yesterday. Something had shifted in me overnight. The fear was still there, but underneath it was something harder, stronger. Anger that had turned into determination. I need to run some errands today, Vernon said. You going to be home? I have that appointment with Kendrick at 10, remember? He called last night. Vernon's jaw tightened. Right. What's that about? He didn't say. Probably just wants to show me pictures of Zion or something. Vernon nodded, but I could see his mind working. He knew Kendrick had found something. The question was, what? At 9:30, my phone buzzed. A text from Raymond. Lab results are in. Call me ASAP. I excused myself to the bathroom and called him. Mrs. Williams, Raymond said, and his voice was tight with anger. Those pills? They're not your medication. One of them is a high dose of sedative. Another is a drug that causes irregular heartbeat. The third would have caused your blood pressure to drop dangerously low. If you'd taken all three together, combined with your actual conditions. He paused. It would have looked like natural causes. Heart failure in an elderly woman. No one would have questioned it. My legs went weak. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub. So I was right. You were right. And Mrs. Williams? I did some digging into your husband's finances last night. He's been transferring money out of your joint accounts into a separate account. Small amounts over the past 6 months, but it adds up to almost $200,000. $200,000. Money I'd helped earn. Money from the house I'd cleaned and the hair I'd braided and every sacrifice I'd made for 48 years. There's more, Raymond continued. I found property records. Vernon bought a condo in Midtown 3 months ago. In his name only. A condo? My voice cracked. I drove by this morning. There's a woman living there. Late 40s, drives a BMW. I'm still working on identifying her, but Mrs. Williams, your husband has a whole separate life. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The bathroom was spinning. Mrs. Williams, you still there? I'm here, I whispered. I'm sending all this to your email. Screenshots, lab results, everything. Print it out before you see your son. And Mrs. Williams, after you meet with Kendrick, I think you need to go to the police. The police won't believe me. Vernon's got friends at the precinct, plays golf with a detective. Then we go to the FBI. This is attempted murder and financial fraud. They'll take it seriously. We made plans to meet at 3 o'clock at Raymond's office. I hung up and stared at myself in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back at me had been a fool, had trusted a man who was stealing from her and trying to kill her. But she wasn't a fool anymore. I washed my face, put on my best pantsuit, the navy blue one I wore to funerals, and drove to Kendrick's office in Buckhead. My son worked in a tall glass building, had his name on the door. Kendrick Williams, CFP, Certified Financial Planner. I'd been so proud when he got that certification. His secretary smiled at me. Mrs. Williams, go right in. He's expecting you. Kendrick was at his desk, staring at his computer screen. When I walked in, he looked up, and I saw something in his face I'd never seen before. Confusion. Maybe even fear. Mama, sit down. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk. What's wrong, baby? Kendrick turned his computer screen toward me. Last week, Dad asked me to look over some investment opportunities for him. Said he wanted to make sure his retirement was secure. He pulled up a document. So I logged into his accounts to see what we were working with. And Mama, there are accounts I've never seen before. He showed me statement after statement. Bank accounts, investment accounts, all in Vernon's name only. Money I didn't know about. Money that had been slowly drained from our joint accounts. That's not all, Kendrick said quietly. He pulled up another document. Remember those papers Dad had you sign last week? The ones to simplify things? Yes. Mama, you signed over your rights to the house and to Dad's life insurance policy. If something happened to you, everything goes to him. But if something happens to him, it doesn't come to you anymore. It goes to... He stopped, his face twisting. It goes to someone named Shanice Morrison. The name hit me like a punch. Morrison. Like Dr. Morrison. Our family doctor. Dr. Morrison's daughter? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Kendrick nodded slowly. I looked her up. She's 46, works as a pharmaceutical sales rep. And Mama... He turned the screen again, showing me a Facebook page. A beautiful woman with a bright smile standing next to Vernon at what looked like a restaurant. They've been posting pictures together for months. She calls him my love. I stared at that picture, at my husband's arm around another woman's waist, at the way he was looking at her, the way he used to look at me 50 years ago. How long have you known? I asked. I found out yesterday. That's why I called. Mama, I think Dad is having an affair. And these financial moves... Kendrick's voice shook. It looks like he's planning to leave you, but he's trying to take everything first. He's not planning to leave me, baby, I said quietly. He's planning to kill me. Kendrick's face went white. What? I told him everything. The pills, the waiter's note, Raymond's lab results, all of it. With every word, my son's expression changed from disbelief to horror to rage. That son of a... Kendrick caught himself. Mama, why didn't you tell me sooner? Would you have believed me? Without proof? He was quiet. We both knew the answer. Vernon was his father, his golf buddy, his mentor. Children don't want to believe their parents are capable of evil. I believe you now, Kendrick said. And we're going to stop him. We spent the next hour going through everything. Kendrick printed out financial records, copied files, built a case like he was preparing for war. At noon, Yvette called him about picking up Zion from school, and Kendrick's whole face changed. "Mama, Zion," he said suddenly. "What if Dad tries to use him as leverage, or worse? Vernon wouldn't hurt Zion. You didn't think he'd hurt you either." That stopped me cold, because Kendrick was right. I didn't know what Vernon was capable of anymore. "Get Yvette and Zion somewhere safe," I said. "Today. Tell her it's a surprise vacation. Don't tell her the truth yet. She'll panic. Just get them away from Atlanta until this is over." Kendrick nodded and immediately started making calls. At 1 o'clock, Vernon called me. "Where are you? You've been at Kendrick's office for 3 hours. "Just catching up with my son. That okay with you?" There was a pause. "Of course. I'll see you at home. Don't forget." "My medication, I know." I hung up before he could say more. Kendrick looked at me. "You can't go home, Mama." "I have to. I need to act normal until we have everything in place. If Vernon knows I'm onto him, he might run. Or worse." "Then I'm coming with you." "No, you need to get your family safe. I'll be fine." "Mama." "Kendrick." I put my hand over his. "Trust me. I've survived 72 years by being smart. I'm not stopping now." At 3 o'clock, I met Raymond at his office near Georgia Tech. He handed me a folder thick with evidence. Lab reports showing the pills were poison, bank statements showing Vernon's theft, photos of Vernon and Shanice together, even a copy of the deed to the Midtown condo. "This is enough for the police," Raymond said. "Probably enough for the DA to file charges." "I want more," I said. "I want a confession." Raymond frowned. "Mrs. Williams, that's dangerous. If you confront him, I'm not confronting him." "Not directly." An idea was forming in my mind. A risky idea, but it might work. "Can you get recording equipment? Something small I can wear?" "You want to wire yourself?" "Vernon thinks I'm a weak old woman. He's getting impatient, making mistakes. If I push the right buttons, he might confess everything. Brag about it even. Men like him can't help themselves." Raymond studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I can have equipment ready by tonight. But, Mrs. Williams, if this goes wrong..." "It won't. Vernon's been underestimating me our whole marriage. Time to use that against him." I drove home at 4:30. Vernon's car was in the driveway. I could see him through the window, pacing again. When I walked in, he practically jumped on me. "Where have you been?" "Kendrick's office, then ran some errands." "Why?" "You've been gone all day, Dolores. No explanation, no checking in." "Vernon, I'm 72 years old. I don't need to check in like a child." His face flushed with anger. "You're my wife. I worry about you." "Do you?" I set my purse down, looked him right in the eye. "Do you really worry about me, Vernon? Or are you worried about something else?" He froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. I'm tired. It's been a long day." I started to walk past him, but he grabbed my arm. His grip was tight, painful. "You're acting strange," he said. "Ever since that anniversary dinner, you've been different." "Maybe I'm just tired of being dizzy all the time, tired of feeling sick." "Then take your medication properly, like you're supposed to." I pulled my arm free. "I will. Tonight." Vernon's eyes narrowed. "You'll take them now." "In front of me." My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. "Fine, get them." He went to his study and came back with a new pill organizer. This one I'd never seen before. He must have prepared a fresh batch. "Here," he said, holding it out. "Take them now." I looked at those pills, at my husband's eager face, and I knew this was the end game. These pills weren't slow working anymore. These would kill me tonight. "Actually," I said, "I need to eat something first. My stomach's been upset. Let me make a sandwich." "I'll make it for you." "No!" The word came out too sharp. I softened my voice. No, honey. I can do it. You relax. Watch your news. I went to the kitchen, made a turkey sandwich with shaking hands. Vernon watched me from the living room, those pills still in his hand. I couldn't keep stalling forever. He was getting suspicious, getting angry. My phone buzzed. A text from Raymond. Equipment ready. Come to the Chevron station on Peachtree. I'll be waiting. I looked at Vernon through the kitchen doorway. He was staring at me with those cold eyes. I made a decision. Vernon, I called out. I'm going to the store real quick. We're out of bread for tomorrow's breakfast. You just made a sandwich. Last of the bread. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Before he could argue, I grabbed my purse and keys and headed for the door. Dolores, Vernon was right behind me. Take your pills first. When I get back, 20 minutes. I was out the door before he could stop me, got in my Buick and drove away fast. In my rearview mirror, I saw Vernon standing in the doorway, phone to his ear, probably calling Shanice to tell her I was acting strange. At the Chevron station, Raymond was waiting in his Honda. He had me slip on a small device that looked like a button on my blouse. It was actually a microphone and recorder. It's voice-activated, he explained. Everything he says will be recorded. But Mrs. Williams, please be careful. If he realizes what you're doing, he won't. Vernon thinks I'm stupid, thinks I've been stupid for 48 years. I adjusted the button. Time to show him different. I drove back home with my heart pounding but my mind clear. This was it. The moment when everything changed. Vernon was pacing when I walked in. No grocery bag. Where's the bread? He asked. They were out. I'll go to another store tomorrow. His jaw clenched. You didn't go to the store. Excuse me? You were gone 30 minutes for a store 2 minutes away. Where were you? Dolores? I set my purse down slowly. I sat in the parking lot for a while, thinking. About what? About us. About how different you've been lately. I turned to face him. About Shanice Morrison. Vernon went completely still. What did you say? Shanice Morrison. Dr. Morrison's daughter. Your girlfriend. The color drained from his face, then came back as rage. Who told you about her? Does it matter? I know, Vernon. I know about the condo, the separate accounts, the money you've been stealing from me. Stealing? That's my money too. No. It's our money. Money I helped earn. But you've been taking it, hiding it, preparing to run off with your mistress and leave me with nothing. I stepped closer to him. Except you're not planning to leave me with nothing, are you? You're planning to leave me dead. Vernon's face twisted. For a second, I thought he might hit me, but then he laughed. Actually laughed. You think you're so smart, don't you? He said. Stupid old woman. You don't know anything. I know you switched my medications. I know those pills you keep trying to give me aren't my heart medication. They're poison. Prove it. He stepped closer, towering over me. You can't prove anything. The waiter at Josephine's warned me. I had the pills tested. I know exactly what they are. Vernon's face went from red to purple. That little... He had no business. So it's true. You admit it. I don't admit anything. But his voice was shaking now, with anger, with fear. You can't prove I did anything wrong. Can't I? I have the lab results. I have bank statements showing your theft. I have photos of you with Shanice. I have the papers you tricked me into signing. I was on a roll now, years of anger pouring out. I have everything, Vernon. And so do the police. That was a lie. I hadn't been to the police yet. But Vernon didn't know that. He grabbed my shoulders, shaking me. You're lying. You wouldn't go to the police. You're too weak. Too stupid. Weak? I shoved him away with strength I didn't know I had. I raised 2 boys mostly by myself while you worked. I buried our youngest son. I survived 72 years in this world as a black woman. And you think I'm weak? You're nothing. Vernon shouted. "You've never been anything but a burden, a nag, an old woman who can't even walk straight without getting dizzy. Because you were poisoning me." "So what?" Vernon's face was twisted with hate now, all the mask stripped away. "So what if I was? You think I wanted to spend my retirement with you, taking care of some old woman who complains about everything? We took vows." Vows. He spat the word. "Those vows were a prison. 48 years of prison. Well, I'm done. Shanice loves me. She makes me feel young again. And with you gone, we can finally be together. With your money, your house, your life insurance." "So you were going to kill me for money and another woman?" I felt tears on my face, but my voice was steady. "How were you going to do it, Vernon? After the pills killed me, what was your plan?" "It would have looked natural. An old woman with heart problems takes too much medication by accident. Or maybe she has a heart attack in her sleep. Who would question it?" He smiled, and it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. Dr. Morrison would have signed the death certificate. His daughter's boyfriend's wife. He was going to help me, was going to make it all look proper and legal. Dr. Morrison knows? He's the one who got me the pills, prescribed them under fake names, gave them to Shanice to give to me. We've been planning this for months, Dolores. Months. And you were too stupid to notice. There it was. Full confession. All recorded. My hand wanted to reach up and touch that button microphone, make sure it was still working. But I kept still. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why not just divorce me?" "And give you half of everything?" "No. This way I get it all. The house, the money, the life insurance. Everything." Vernon stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "And you know what? I was going to enjoy watching you die. Watching you get weaker and weaker, knowing I was the one doing it. You're a monster. I'm a man who wants to live his life, and you were in the way. Not anymore." I pulled my phone from my pocket, hands shaking. "Because I recorded every word you just said." Vernon's eyes went wide. "What?" "The button on my blouse? It's a microphone. Everything you said, the confession, Dr. Morrison's involvement, all of it, is recorded." Vernon lunged at me, trying to grab the phone. I stumbled backward, fell against the coffee table. Pain shot through my hip, but I held on to that phone. "Give it to me!" Vernon was screaming now, out of control. "Give me that phone!" The front door burst open. Raymond rushed in, followed by 2 police officers. "Atlanta PD, step away from her!" Vernon froze, his hand inches from my face. The officers pulled him away, pushed him to the ground, cuffed him. "Vernon Williams, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy," one officer said. Vernon was screaming, fighting against the handcuffs. "She's lying! She's a crazy old woman! She doesn't know what she's talking about!" "We heard the whole thing," Raymond said, holding up his phone. "Mrs. Williams' microphone was broadcasting live. We recorded everything." Kendrick burst through the door next, his face panicked. "Mama, are you okay?" I was on the floor, my hip throbbing, tears streaming down my face. But I was alive. I was safe. "I'm okay, baby," I said. "I'm okay." They took Vernon away in handcuffs, still screaming. The officers said they were also sending units to arrest Shanice Morrison and Dr. Morrison. The whole conspiracy was falling apart. An ambulance came to check me out. Just bruises from the fall, nothing broken. But I felt broken inside. 48 years of marriage ending with my husband being dragged away in handcuffs. Sister Patricia came to stay with me that night. Then Claudette flew in from Florida. Raymond had called her the moment the police arrived. My best friend held me while I cried, really cried, for the first time since this nightmare started. "You survived, Dot," Claudette kept saying. "You survived because you're strong. You hear me? Strong." The next few weeks were a blur. Vernon was denied bail. The judge called him a danger to the community and flight risk. Shanice and Dr. Morrison were also arrested. Turns out they'd done this before, 3 years ago, to Dr. Morrison's wife. She'd died of what everyone thought was a heart attack. But now they were investigating. Vernon tried to make a deal, tried to say he was coerced, tried to blame everyone but himself. But the recordings didn't lie. His own words condemned him. The trial was in August. I had to testify, had to sit on that stand, and look at the man I'd loved for 48 years and tell the whole courtroom what he'd done. Kendrick testified, too, about the financial fraud. Raymond presented the evidence. The lab reports, the recordings, everything. The jury took 3 hours to find Vernon guilty. Guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of fraud. Guilty of conspiracy. The judge gave him 25 years to life. "Mr. Williams," the judge said, and she was a black woman about my age, "you betrayed the sacred trust of marriage in the most heinous way possible. You tried to murder your wife slowly, cruelly, for money and another woman. This court shows no mercy to men who harm their wives." Vernon was also ordered to return all the money he'd stolen, plus damages. The house was returned to my name only. His life insurance policy was invalidated. Everything he'd tried to take from me came back. Shanice got 15 years. Dr. Morrison got 20 for his role in the conspiracy and for his wife's death, which they were now calling murder. After the trial, I stood on the courthouse steps with Kendrick on one side and Raymond on the other. Reporters were asking questions, cameras flashing. But I just smiled. "Mrs. Williams, how do you feel?" one reporter asked. "Free," I said. "For the first time in a long time, I feel free." That was 6 months ago. Now I'm living in a smaller house in a better neighborhood. Sold the Peachtree Hills house. Too many bad memories. I'm dating a nice man named Walter who I met at church. He's 75, widowed, makes me laugh. We go dancing on Fridays at the senior center. Kendrick and I are closer than ever. He's protective, calls me every day, comes over for Sunday dinner with Yvette and Zion. My grandson drew me a picture last week, him and me holding hands under a rainbow. I put it on my refrigerator. I started a support group at Greater Faith Baptist for women experiencing abuse. We meet every Wednesday evening. Sister Patricia helps me run it. So far, we've helped 6 women leave dangerous situations. 6 women who might have ended up like I almost did. Raymond Jenkins became like family. I call him my honorary nephew. He gave me a discount on his fees, said I reminded him of his grandmother. Now he comes to dinner once a month, and I make him my pot roast. Claudette visits from Florida every few months. We sit on my new porch, drink sweet tea, and talk about everything. She keeps saying I should write a book about what happened. Maybe I will someday. The waiter who saved my life, his name is Marcus, and he's the bartender's nephew, like he said. He stops by sometimes. I gave him a reward from the money Vernon had to pay back, but he didn't want to take it. "You deserve to know," he said. "No man should get away with hurting his wife." I think about that anniversary dinner sometimes. How close I came to taking those pills. How different everything would be if Marcus hadn't passed me that note. How Vernon would have gotten away with murder, would have lived his life with Shanice on my money, and no one would have known. But I did know, and I survived, and I turned the tables on the man who thought I was weak. Sometimes I see elderly women at church or the grocery store, and I wonder if they're okay. Wonder if they're being hurt and are too scared to tell anyone. So I make it a point to smile at them, to ask how they're doing, to look them in the eye and let them know I see them. Because that's what saved me in the end. Being seen, being believed, having people who cared enough to help. Last Sunday, Zion asked me if I was ever going to get married again. Walter and I were sitting together in church, and I guess it was obvious we were more than friends. "Maybe someday, baby," I told him. "But only if he treats me right." Like Grandpa Vernon didn't? My heart hurt, but I answered honestly. Like Grandpa Vernon didn't. "If anyone's mean to you, Grandma, you tell me. I'll protect you." I hugged my grandson close, this beautiful boy who would grow up knowing that women deserve respect. that love shouldn't hurt, that his grandmother was strong enough to save herself. I know you will, baby. I know you will. I'm 73 now. I survived something that should have killed me. I lost 48 years to a man who didn't deserve them. But I've got years left, and I'm going to live every single one of them on my own terms. No more playing weak, no more playing small, no more letting anyone make me feel like I'm nothing. Because Dolores Williams is not nothing. She never was. And she's got a whole lot of living left to do. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.